we all good to go? Everything good over there? Awesome. Hello, everyone. This big, full audience we have, just kidding. Thanks for joining us. Today is Tuesday, July 14th, 2026, and this is the regular meeting of the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I hereby call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda will be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand and join us. Next, we will take a moment of silent reflection. Okay, next we are going to move into our public hearing. I believe we need a motion for that, right? Yes, no, miss? Okay, we need a motion to move into the public hearing.
I move to move into public hearing.
I'll second.
Having a motion from Mr. Owens, second from Mr. Mikes. I'll call for vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also yay. Motion passes. We'll just turn to CFO Vaughn for all of this.
Can you pull up my presentation? Madam President, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Davidson, colleagues and community, thank you for joining me this evening to discuss the Adjacent Ways Levy for 2027 and the Truth in Taxation process. Arizona school districts have the ability to levy additional resources for adjacent ways expenditures, which we propose doing as part of the construction for Troy Gilbert Elementary School. State statute requires that for us to do so, we hold a public hearing on the topic in connection with our budget adoption. In connection with the public hearing, the district is required to publish information in a newspaper in the district's boundaries. We've met this requirement through advertising the hearing in the West Valley View. We will also be mailing the results of tonight's board action to the Property Tax Oversight Commission. As a reminder, adjacent ways revenues are levied for construction projects to pay for improvements needed for the entry and exit on and off district property. For the build-out of Troy Gilbert Elementary specifically, we have had to extend utility lines, sewer, and finish a half street along some of the other items on the slide. It's fairly common for districts to have to engage in these activities when building new schools, and especially true when building schools in newly developing areas. Prior to spending these funds, the School Facilities Oversight Board must approve that the projects are eligible. Based on our current work with the general contractors and architects, we are anticipating needing to levy an additional $1.5 million of adjacent ways for the build-out of Troy Gilbert Elementary in the 2026-2027 year. To mitigate the tax impact of the overall adjacent ways work, we have spread out our adjacent ways levy over a number of tax years to try to manage the tax rate for our constituents as much as possible. The levy is anticipated to cost taxpayers a little more than $5.58 per $100,000 of assessed valuation as shown on the slide. The Adjacent Ways levy is shown on the cover page of our proposed and potentially adopted budget, and is rounded from the actual rate as shown on the slide I have on the screen. This slide is the same as was presented at our last board meeting and shows the result of our proposed tax levies for the fiscal year compared to last. As a reminder, overall, our tax rate should be declining, even with the inclusion of this levy for adjacent ways. I'm available to answer any questions you might have on our proposed adjacent ways levy.
Mr. Owens, did you have any comments or questions?
I have no questions, thanks.
Mr. Mikes?
No questions, thank you.
I do not either. I think we're good. Do we need to motion to adjourn the public hearing or no? Okay. Well then, we are going to move in then to next is public comment, which we don't have anybody. Huh? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. We have the next thing you're doing. Ignore me, maybe. Trying to jump ahead. Our next part of our public hearing. Sorry. Forgive me. It's been a long day. Mr. Vaughn, we'll let you continue.
Okay. Madam President, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Davidson, colleagues, and community, thank you for joining me this evening to discuss and potentially adopt the district's budget for fiscal year 2027. This presentation is the exact same as we presented at last board meeting. I'm happy to revisit the presentation, or we can move directly to any questions you may have.
Mr. Owens, did you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good with everything from last time, thank you.
Mr. Mikes?
I don't have any.
I don't have any questions. We've talked this one to death, so I feel like we're pretty good here. But we appreciate all the work that went into getting to this point. Okay, now we're going to move on to public comment, which we don't have anybody here, so we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda and consideration of consent agenda. I will see if anybody has anything they'd like to pull from consent. Mr. Owens?
And none for me.
Mr. Mikes?
None.
I have none either, if someone wants to make a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Mr. Owens, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. We will move on now to our action items. The first item will be approval of truth in taxation notice of tax increase. CFO Vaughn.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, this is simply the voting item related to the public hearing we just held. I'm available to answer any questions you might have about our adjacent ways levy.
Did you have any questions or comments, Mr. Owens?
Again, no questions, thank you.
Mr. Mikes?
No questions.
No questions.
I move to approve to levy an increase of property taxes for the adjacent ways fund as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion from Mr. Owens and a second from Mr. Mikes, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Okay, we will move on next to the approval of fiscal year 2027 annual expenditure budget. Again, CFO Vaughn, this is like your show, basically, this part of the year.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, again, this is the voting item related to our second public hearing topic. I'm available to answer any questions you might have about our proposed budget, which after your vote, I'm hoping becomes our adopted budget. Thank you.
Mr. Owens, comments, questions?
Nope.
Mr. Mikes?
None.
I have none. Once again, we've been talking about this forever, so anybody that's watching now, and if you haven't seen the many, many meetings in the past, I promise we're not deciding this in 5 seconds. We have spent hours and hours and hours and hours talking this to death, and our district admin have spent even more hours beyond all of that, working through every possible option. So I have no questions either. If somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the fiscal year 2027 annual expenditure budget as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion for Mr. Mikes and a second for Mr. Owens, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Next, we are going to move on to the approval of the new Litchfield Learner Report Card, which will be by Dr. Benjamin and others.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the governing board. This evening, we are bringing back the report card. This is some summer work, and we got your feedback back in May around this report card going to standards-based. And so Director Woods and several teachers and instructional coaches, as well as principals, have been able to do some summer work on this. She's going to present the final outcomes of what we are hoping you will approve for the future report card for Litchfield.
I can start by giving you an overview of kind of the work that the summer committee did. So we started by looking at the sample report cards, and then they broke into grade level teams, so kinder, first, second, third, et cetera, to give specific relative to their academic standards and how those are being reported out on the report cards. And then also some guidance around what teachers will need training on and support with. So we had several categories that we plan to develop trainings for, and then to have a staff handbook to support teachers in the implementation of the new grading practices. So some of that is the foundations and philosophy. So why the shift to standards-based? What does it mean? How does it benefit our students? The reason why we're separating behavior and academics into two measurements. So students will receive their academic grade and then Litchfield learner attribute grades. Understanding of the 1 through 4 scale and what that will look like in synergy as they're entering grades and generating report cards. How does it change our instructional and our assessment practices? So really moving away from the idea of students accumulating points, but to focusing on what the students have learned relative to academic standards. And then also looking at assessment practices. So how are we assessing student achievement? So are we looking only at like multiple choice tests, or do we have an opportunity to do performance-based assessments, or what will best give us evidence about the students' learning? We also know teachers are going to need help with specialized populations. So what does this new grading look like for our kiddos who are multilingual or for our kiddos who have IEPs? And then obviously we know we'll need to do robust communications with all stakeholders so that there's an understanding of this change and why we're moving in that direction. If you could find the PLC slide, that would be great. So one of the things we want to make sure we do for teachers is connect this work directly to the work we're already doing in PLC. So while this will be a new way of grading, the work is really the same. So within the PLC, we're talking about what do we want students to learn, what evidence will tell us that the students have learned it, and then how are we going to respond if they learn it and if they don't learn it, which is really the same thing we'll be asking of teachers with their grading practices. We'll just be reporting out in a different way. Other way, I think. Okay, yeah, perfect. So here we've kind of outlined how the work of the grading practices connects to the PLC. So starting with our academic standards, learning targets, and success criteria, then what evidence are we going to collect, what types of assessments to know what performance level students are at, and then once we determine where students are, giving them that actionable feedback to move from one performance level to the next. And then for our kiddos who are already achieving, how are we going to increase the depth or complexity of their learning as opposed to just giving them additional work to do? And then this is a tool we developed to help principals determine the readiness of teacher teams or their campus as a whole. So thinking through some of the mindsets that teachers will need to potentially shift from traditional grading to standards-based grading. How well their students, or how well the teachers know their standards. So are they already familiar with planning using the academic standards? Are they already familiar with looking at the performance level descriptors to determine the difference between minimally, partially proficient, and highly proficient? And then what are their current assessment practices? So those are just some talking points to help principals process through with each team of teachers. And then you also have the sample report card for each grade level. Just as a reminder, it is organized by the subject, and then from there, the strand in ELA, the domain in math, and then the cluster of standards that belong to that strand or domain. I think we already hit that. If you get to part next, there should be one of like next steps, I think.
Yeah, I think there is. Please hold.
There we go. With your approval, our next steps would be to build this out in Synergy. So the examples you see are just from the Google product, so that's how it would officially look like once it's put into our student information system. Then we'll work with partners to determine who are the teachers who are ready to try it for this upcoming school year. And then working with our communications department to communicate to parents, students, staff, everyone about these changes. And then also train teachers, so give them the professional learning they need both on the technical Synergy side, but also on the grading practices side. And then happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Owens, did you have any questions or comments about this?
I do. So prior to this, we did just, so this is standard scoring, right? Like you talked about before, this is just like, all right, math, you got this, right?
So kindergarten
A, B,
first,
C, D.
kindergarten first and second are already being scaled or scored on a standards-based report card. Third through eighth grade, it is the traditional 0 to 100% that then translates into A, B, C, D, or F.
So will they, even like we're grading standards, but will they still get an overall grade for math and reading and?
So third, fourth, and fifth, no, it would echo what K2 looks like. Sixth, seventh, and eighth, we would have the ability to do that if we needed to for them moving into high school.
Okay. So they don't technically say, oh, what was your grade in math? They'd be like, oh, I got a 4 in this and a 3 in that and a 4 in that?
Correct. And then they could also have the overall score of whether they're at proficiency, above proficiency, or below. So we would be able to calculate in Synergy from the standard clusters what would be like an overall score.
So like if there's 3 standards and they got a 4, 3, 4, then that's 11 out of 12, that would be proficient? That's what you're saying?
It would still convert back to the 0 through 4 scale. It wouldn't be like an 11 out of 12, but yes.
It would be a 3 point something out of 4?
Yes, so that would be considered proficient, anything that's
Okay.
3 or above.
So you add it up and divide it by the total, so you do get an overall score?
Only if the high school is needing that, we're able to provide that. That wouldn't be my recommendation to do across the board holistically. I think it kind of muddies the water in the purpose of looking at the standards-based grading, because we really want students focused on like what's their next step to move forward, as opposed to just an overall grade.
Got it. I'm just trying to like think how
Yeah.
how I was raised
Yep.
some years
Yes,
ago.
it's a big
and then
shift.
how people are used to getting a report card and saying, oh, hey, you're getting good grades? Yeah, I got a 4, a 3, a 2, a 4, a 7,
Right.
like, okay, how does that translate to
Yep.
what people know? And then to follow up on that, is this something that's become more of an industry standard? And when I say industry, like we're not inventing a new wheel right here. I'm assuming that there's precedent out there, and obviously other schools are doing this. And
Yes, and we were fortunate with Synergy, we were able to see different report cards from all over the country and kind of what they're doing. So we were able to kind of pick and choose what we thought was most applicable in Litchfield within the standards-based model. So we had several examples that we were working from.
And really what it is it's breaking down each subject into subcategories of topics or subjects, so that way you get a better understanding of proficiency.
Correct, yes, and it would be aligned to our state test as well. So the way that those scores are reported out would look very similar to how we would then be reporting out.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Mikes?
Yeah, those are some good questions specifically about that end result of the grade, is making sure, of course, when we talk about whatever the industry standards have been or what we're shifting to and everything like that, just so parents know that we if there is a need from the schools they transition into, there's a way that we have to produce it in an A, B, C, D version for them, I think is important for people, for them to know. I know we work closely with Agua Fria, our main, district that we move into, but of course not all of our kids go that way, but so that's good to hear that we have something in place to do that, so I appreciate that. Another thing I just want to say, I don't have any questions, but I commend the district for actually tackling something like this, because we could sit back and just do it the same way, but as Board Member Owens pointed out, we are now looking at math. We look at math differently instead of, oh, I got an A in math. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
We can sit back and have conversations and say, this is what it means because of all these subcategories built up. And that's where we're really going to start finding those gaps, those learning gaps, and having those conversations and having those, even revamping from teachers of instructional practices and assessments with it. I think it's a big thing to tackle, but I think there's going to be some tremendous academic conversations and instructional conversations and growth from everybody in the district with it. So I just want to kind of point that out because I think it is a great thing to do. Lots of support, lots of time, like I said, lots of conversations, but I love to see that we're moving and seeing how we can continually be better. So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions either, just a few comments, because I said this before and I'll say it again. I was a parent when we did this with K-1-2 before and sat in the meetings and with all the parents that are like, I hate this isn't what I know. We can't always do things just the way you did it because that's the way it was done. I do think this is going to give parents, teachers, everybody a much better understanding of each individual student and where they're at academically in the various areas, and we'll be able to more pinpoint what it is that kids need help with and what they're super excelling in and where we could possibly push them higher even. So I think this is a benefit to both areas for our kids that are behind and our kids that are ahead. I also think that communication is going to be so important with our parents because they are going to push back. I know that even though the high schools do the A, B, C, D, F grades, they also grade on standards-based grading. So
Correct.
for people that have kids in high school already, they're kind of familiar with it. And they've kind of also had it, how does this look on A, B, C, D, F? But they're getting it and they're figuring it out, so they will figure it out here too. But I do think this is overall the right direction ahead. And I'm happy with our district and the fact that we're willing to do it, even though we might get some pushback from some parents. But it's okay, they'll get on board. Change is hard. We need to get everybody the Who Moved My Cheese book, and then we can all just grow from there. So with that, you need us to make a motion, right?
I'll move to approve the new Litchfield Learner Report Card with early adopters implementing during 26-27 school year and full district-wide implementation for the 27-28 school year.
I will second that motion.
Having a motion from Mr. Mikes and a second from Mr. Owens, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Next up is going to be an out-of-state travel request.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Davidson, colleagues and community, thank you for joining me this evening to discuss and potentially approve an out-of-state travel request for our Director of Student Information and our Student Information Data Specialists. This conference is put on nationally for users of Synergy, our student information system, and largely covers new and emerging uses of our student information system and allows for problem solving and networking on a national level. We utilize this opportunity to ensure that we're using our student information system to its highest potential, which is utilized by all our teachers across the district to track attendance, will be used to implement the report card structure you just approved, and other student information. I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Mr. Owens?
Same as kind of what I say with all of these. If we feel like this is of value to our administration and going to add value to these individuals and their roles, then I'm for it. I am just also always jealous that it seems to be in Nashville, Tennessee. So
Mr. Mikes?
I don't have any questions about it. Just the comment of it's a massive system that we work with, and I think it's of the utmost important that we are at the forefront of every conversation that takes place with the use of this software and implementation. So.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I support us doing this. I don't really remember us ever sending somebody to a conference like this from our area. We might have, and I just don't remember because we do a lot of things, but I think it's great. This is not people we're sending to a lot of conferences, so these are brand new people going to conferences, so I'm in support of that and us spreading around our PD to all of our people. So I support this if someone wants to make a motion.
I will move to approve the out-of-state travel request as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion for Mr. Owens and a second for Mr. Mikes, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. And see, we're moving along, guys, so fast. Next, we will move on to reports. We'll start with Dr. Davidson.
Thank you, Madam President. It is July 14th, and we are officially in the 26-27 school year. Our administrators are preparing to open their buildings despite some of the broken tree limbs that are out and about and getting in our way, but we're getting that handled, and yes, we do like the rain in Arizona. We are excited to further the concept of belonging this year, and that's just a part of our Litchfield promise. Last week, we had a chance to meet with our admin council group, our office managers, to reinforce the concept of belonging, and we also just wanted to say thank you publicly to CCV for letting us use their facilities on behalf of our whole team. We also reinforce belonging and being champions of our schools with our leaders of our school parent-teacher organizations. Mrs. Amorano, Director of Public Relations, will continue to foster belonging with our parent groups on a quarterly basis. With all that said, governing board members, it is a busy season of the year with much, much more to come, such as July 30th, first day of school. So make certain everybody has that on their calendars. And with that said as well, back to you, President Zeidema.
Thank you. We will move on to board reports. Mr. Owens, if you'd like to go first.
I've just been enjoying my summer, so nothing to report.
Mr. Mikes?
Nothing to report, however, I'm excited for the start of the school year. And you did say July, right? 30th? Crazy.
What they forgot to mention is that we did have one of the most important jobs that we have as a board member is we did the superintendent evaluation in June, which was a really great conversation with our whole board, and I appreciated the new tool we had that helped to make that conversation, I feel, flow better and give good constructive feedback as well as positive praise, and it was just, I like it. I'm excited for it to be rolled out throughout our whole district now since we have this cascading evaluation tool. I also was able to pop into the admin PD last week and say hello to everyone. I appreciate that our district gets those people all together and has them in the room together, and we can still do that. I'm sad we're not going to be able to do that for all of our staff this year, but I understand with the budget cuts and stuff that that's not the most responsible thing maybe to do. However, I'm glad our admin team were able to come and get together because there is just so much information and so many new things that we have to get out to everybody, and the best way to do that is with them all hearing it at the same time together so that there isn't any misunderstanding in what was being said. Today I was able to attend the parent group meeting that Dr. Davidson spoke of and hear from different admin people who were able to share stuff with our parent leaders. I am nervous about the new food laws that have come out because all of the new legislation that happened this year is now going to go into effect in our schools, and this food thing is going to be fun for everyone to deal with. And they also got to hear from the Education Foundation while they were there, and the Education Foundation was able to share about one of their new fundraisers they're going to do this year, the Boo Bash and 5K, which I think sounds so fun. To get our families together to do a run. They talked about having an inflatable staff race where every campus will have somebody dressed up in an inflatable costume and run across the field, and I think that's going to be fun. Kids are going to want to come do it and get their parents to come. So this is going to be a great event to bring our whole community together while raising money for the Education Foundation that does so many wonderful things for our district. So I'm excited for more information to come out about that, and I'm glad they were able to share that with the parent leaders and get the parent leaders to be able to help promote their stuff as well. I too had to deal with trees falling on my house last night, so I understand what the district is dealing with, tree branches everywhere. So good luck to all our maintenance people. At least we have a couple of weeks to deal with that before everybody comes back. But I am excited for our first day of school coming up. Now that I only have one kiddo in this district, I only have one kid starting in July, since we like to start so early here. But it's going to be great. I'm very excited to see what happens. With that, thank you for the people that turned in reports to us, and we are all done. If someone wants to make a motion.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Having a motion for Mr. Owens, a second for Mr. Mikes, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Owens?
Yay.
Mr. Mikes?
Yay.
I'm also a yay. Motion passes. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This meeting's adjourned.